Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting for February 18th, 2014. We'll begin with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Mr. Kinney, you're a little late on that one. It was waiting for you.
Sit down until it's over.
Okay, Mrs. Pullen.
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Bransky?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dents? Mr. Rocco?
Here. Let the record show Mr. Dents is under the weather, so he's not here this evening. Also, Chief Wilcox will be joining us a little bit late. He had another official commitment. Okay. All right, first name on the list is Roland Kenny.
What'd you do, Mr. Craig? Get guys to throw a desk at him? That's why he took off? Good evening, Roland Kenny, Falls Township. I'm not going to say much tonight. I had my discussion with a few people before I came up here. I just want to say, God bless Falls Township. Good night.
Thank you. Okay. Edgar Latuma.
Good evening, Edgar Lituma, Falls Township. Just ask you just one question. After I watched completely meeting from last time, February 4, I want to find out how is the way Falls Club can ask some money for you guys, because I saw you give money some baseball league. I'm not against that, but we have the Sports Township many years. We raise the money, doing different things for the club and for the teams. Now, if you're doing that, I just want to find out how's the way to try to get from you guys. That's a simple question I'm asking.
Well, the township gives money to a couple different groups. American Legion for the parade, St. Patrick's Day Committee for their parade,
Yes.
the three baseball leagues, as you said, and also the Delaware Valley Vietnam Veterans for the Flag Memorial.
Yes.
All those organizations basically make a request for money, and they also give us a budget, basically, of the money they spend on a yearly basis. For example, tonight we have the St. Patty's Day Parade has submitted a request, and there's sort of a budget on the back of the money they spend, what they spend it on, and so we have an idea of where the money would be going.
Okay, I just
Okay.
want to find out that. Another phase, I want to say, all the people who watch this meeting, I know a lot of people watch during the 2 weeks period. We have meeting to meeting. If somebody's watching, please, I asked last time, a few times before, please come to the meetings. That way we all get involved in the things is going here in the township. We supposed to come to the meetings and know after saying, oh, well, we went to this meeting, what is going on. If the people is watching this meeting, I ask again, come to the meeting. That way we all work together and we could do better for Falls Township. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And this is
Gloria Latuma?
who's never given us the information regarding this flag football league, right? No, that's the guy over here, right? In the black. And we asked him for all this.
Good evening. Yes, he brought me to the meetings. Here I am again. First of all, I just want to thank you. Last time I also rewatched the meeting, and I appreciate you letting me go over the 5 minutes for public comment. And I did go home and I did a little bit more research on the recycling plant that's proposed for the KOIZ. And again, I looked on the internet and I looked up the 6 companies in New Jersey that are recycling the oil. And I went into each company and I kept going down. They all look very legitimate, very different than the website that I had seen from the new Seaview. And then, unfortunately, and I think this should be a big concern to all of us, I got up to the Pure Earth Recycling Inc. in New Jersey, and I kind of have a little history here. I'm actually going to try to do this very quickly. Starting with February 2007 in a weekly news bulletin. With great excitement, they were announcing that Pure Earth Inc. It had entered into a definitive agreement to acquire 3 companies in the environmental recycling business located on 32 acres in Vineland, New Jersey. And a couple of companies had merged. And then, according to Gregory Call, CEO of Mart and Casey, stated the merger of our companies with Pure Earth, which was the name of the company used for recycling in New Jersey, will provide us tremendous synergies in addition to the necessary capital to grow our operations. They were very excited to have Pure Earth come and were speaking the merits of this company. So then I fast forward to, this was in February 2007, a little article about the merging of the companies, Pure Earth being one of them. Fast forward to February 2012, and federal cleanup underway at Vineland Industrial Site. So again, I was very, very concerned, as I mentioned, and they actually left tanks behind, chemicals behind, spills behind, and it ended up costing the township about $2 to $3 million to clean up that mess that this company had left. Now, at the last meeting, I had mentioned I didn't know the name of the company in New Jersey, and that information has not yet gotten to me.
Okay.
I can't say that this was the company. Whether it is or not, to me, is a moot point. Again, we don't want to be left with a toxic cleanup in our backyard. So I can't figure out, I know you said that we had very limited ability to stop them. I'm not sure about that. I haven't done that part of the research yet. In addition, as I said, there was actually a court case. I wasn't able to access the information in the court case. United States of America versus Pure Earth. The Vineland, sounds lovely, Pure Earth. They didn't leave it so pure. So the Vineland, New Jersey company just left them with a mess to clean up. I would hope that you would take this under consideration. I still have a couple more minutes left.
Sure.
Okay, a little bit more research that I did. This was based on the Allegheny County Health Department. Their website, you and I could not do anything about this taking used lubricating or motor oil. However, on their website, they do mention used motor oil is insoluble, persistent, and can contain toxic chemicals and heavy metals, slow to degrade. So even though the people from New Seaview say, oh, it floats on the water, well, that's wonderful. It's stuck to everything else in there as well. It sticks to everything from beach sand to bird feathers, major source of oil contamination of waterways. Hello, we're going to barge it up the river. So all in all, I still think it's a very bad idea, and I would really urge you very strongly to reconsider it. If there's anything we can do to stop it, I'll continue on my part, and I hope you guys will do the same thing. And also, I still would like the name of the company.
Sure. Yeah, we're gonna, Mr. Sullivan, I know we were talking a little bit about this company earlier today. Do we have contact information? I don't know. I've never heard of the Pure Earth? Is that what it's called? Pure Earth.
Pure Earth.
Pure Earth. Yeah, I don't
Yes.
recognize the
It's-
name,
well,
and I don't
there's
certainly.
another-
It might be a completely different company than the one we're dealing with. So
I
we
sure
don't want
hope it is. But
yeah.
even if it's not, again, there's 6 companies in New Jersey. 1 out of the 6 left a big mess behind.
Mm-hmm.
Do we really need that for the limited benefits that we're getting from it? I mean, I personally don't think so.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, do we have information about the company itself?
We didn't have anything in the file. We haven't finished the research to find out who they are.
Okay.
They will
So
be.
you're telling me you guys don't know the name of the company that the subsidiary of New Seaview LLC or Lubricycle? Nobody here knows the name of the company?
Now, we know the name of the company that has come and submitted a land development application to us. If they are a
Clark, you
subsidiary
have
of
to use the
someone
microphone.
else,
Sorry.
we have the information of the equitable owner of that property, the property that wants to develop that. As is often the case with these kind of companies, they incorporate under different names.
Exactly
and-
what happened
Right.
with Pure Earth,
Right.
yes.
And one of the basic tenets of corporate law is that you can't, if they're 2 separate entities, you can't punish Pure Earth or you can't punish this new company for something Pure Earth when they're two entirely separate companies have done, even though they may have had the same parent corporation, even though they may have had the same owners, even though they may have had the same structure.
What you're telling me is that it could very well be a subsidiary of,
I have no idea.
you have no idea. Okay.
It
Okay,
also-
well, I
it
urge
also-
you to look into it and,
It looks like they're scheduled to go in front of the Planning Commission in March.
Right.
So
Yes, they're
that would be
coming-
your opportunity to talk to them and speak to the Planning Commission as well.
Yeah. And the Planning Commission is the fourth Thursday.
Fourth Tuesday, which would be the
Fourth
25th,
Tuesday.
I think, of March.
All right, so the fourth Tuesday in March, which would be the 25th.
As for anything left behind, Mr. Clark, they would be posting a bond for cleanup anyway, correct?
They would be required, if they're most likely under their DEP permits, they'd be required to post a bond that would address any environmental cleanup if after they left the site. Actually, earlier today during the staff meeting, not this company, of course, because they haven't been here, we were discussing another company that had come into the township, had done business, and has now left and has not cleaned up the site. There is a bond that they had to post with DEP, and we are taking steps to address that issue with DEP to enable us to get the money to clean up the site.
okay. I mean, my concern again would be like, according to the articles I found, there was a $2 to $3 million cleanup. And as I understand it, they're posting a $1 million bond. Is that correct? And could there be exclusions in the bond? I mean, I'm not, obviously not
We
an
don't set the
attorney,
bond
but.
for DEP. DEP
Oh, the
determines.
DEP is separate. It has nothing to do with what
DEP
township.
determines the amounts of the bond that need for the potential environmental cleanup.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ed Mathias?
Good evening, everybody. My name's Ed Mathias, Falls Township resident. A little about myself. I volunteer in a lot of leagues for kids around here, football, baseball. Tonight I'm here on behalf of LBFFA, which is Lower Bucks Flag Football Association. Before I get into my point, I would just like to just tell you a little about the league. We provide like an alternative to kids who don't play tackle football. We've been doing it for about 10 years. Kids from ages 5 to 7 play in our league. We have 2 seasons, a spring season and a fall season. The spring season runs roughly from March to June. Fall runs from basically end of August to first week in December. All of our games and stuff are played on Sundays. We do a lot for the kids. We have tournaments that they enter. This year we've had a couple teams go to New York. Our all-girls team made it to the Nationals this year, which was held at Dallas Cowboys Stadium this year, which, is nice. The coaches put, teams together. My basic thing for being here tonight is all our games are played at Emerson, Ralph Emerson Waldo School. From what we understand, they're going to be building another school back there, which basically we're trying to find out when they're starting, but we don't know. And we don't want to try to not have a season for the kids. Point comes down to basically if they start, we're going to lose our fields. I've talked to a couple of you guys before about this. Possibly getting some fields in falls for these kids so that, we can keep the season going. It's, like I said, it's mostly kids. We do have an adult league that also plays on Sunday. They start like 8 in the morning. They're over by 12. Usually the kids start 12:30, usually done by 3:30, 4 o'clock. We're just looking for somewhere as a backup plan in case, Emerson does start tearing up there. We have nowhere to go. And like I said, we want to try to keep this going for the kids. And I was hoping maybe we could do something in fall somewheres. I know before they've mentioned we have a tournament each year we do at Falls Park. I know they got a couple other fields, Quaker Penn Park, but I don't know what goes on there on Sundays. I did send an email about a month and a half ago to Parks and Rec. I just haven't heard anything back from them. That's why I came here to try to address this.
Okay. In terms of construction, Mr. Galloway is in the Bristol Township School District. What's the timeline for construction?
They're looking for a ceremonial groundbreaking, I know, at the Buchanan site in April.
Okay.
I think both sites should be under construction this summer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so-
what I figured.
All right. Yeah, we have, in fact, we was talking today with Mr. Gray about this. We have sort of the process, the application process for putting in for different fields. We've had a couple organizations already put in for some field use at the Township Park, Rugby League and Fall Soccer, and a couple
Softball.
and a softball league as well. It's, I don't know, do we have a copy of the application we could give Mr. Mathias while he's here, or is that upstairs?
If you can give me your email address, maybe I could forward one to you in the morning.
Yeah.
No,
So
it-
we'll
it's
follow,
not-
and that's just the process of going through and letting us know what days, what times, numbers of people involved, that kind of thing, and we have to kind of go through all that. That's all.
Yeah, and like I say, it's a lot of falls because even Steve DeSanger, he's the one that he does our referees for us and
Okay.
stuff. So, there's a lot of new falls and people involved in it. But like I said, we want to try to plan ahead so we're not,
Sure.
but it's for the kids, so we just want to keep it going. That's all.
Okay.
I know there, where you're playing now, you're using a lot of fields. Is that because of space? Do you know what you'd be looking for as far as
we
fields?
usually use 3 fields. Each field is 35 yards by 80 yards. Every once in a while we use 4, but very rarely.
One of my kids play. I know there was, I think I saw 3, 4, something like that.
Yeah, it's usually for the kids. It's usually 3 fields. The one year we did have 4 because we had a lot of kids playing. We usually average like between 200 and 300 kids that play. But I would say 3 fields would be safe.
Okay.
Just
And what were the sizes of the fields again?
they're 35 yards by 80 yards.
Okay.
Just another comment too.
Sure.
I was on the website today and I seen the video that Mr. Dents put on there about
The boat ramp.
if you haven't looked at it, you should check it out. It's amazing what how strong nature is. You don't realize it. And
Right.
Barely moving and still tears things up. But,
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Debbie Martier?
Hi, I'm Debbie Martier from Falls Township, and I just came in tonight to ask a few questions about the future of Three Arches, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Your decision seemed to come out of the blue, and it really has had a negative impact on so many people in this township, so many people not in this township. It's very widespread. I don't see why you would want to close down the things that we have been doing at Three Arches. The special events, they cost you money, but there's so many things that went on there that didn't cost the township any money. The school program, do you even know about the school program that we go to Walt Disney, 5th grade every year?
Excuse me,
And teach
Mrs.
them-
Martier, could you pull the microphone down?
and teach them about colonial history with their teachers. We make quilt squares. There must be hundreds of them at Walt Disney. We're supposed to put them together to hang a quilt in the lobby of the school. All that is just done and over with on a whim with no warning. And the shop, the gift shop, is something that Falls Township is well known for now. People love coming to Three Arches for anything, and the gift shop was just a bonus. There's 40 to 50 crafters who make their most money in a year at the gift shop at the Three Arches, and now they're done. Hundreds and hundreds of people who come through there in the 6-week time. I mean, we have the same women who come and buy a $3 item, and they come every other day. It's just some place to go, something that they love, to tell their story about Three Arches, what happened to them when they were young, or how they used to skip school and hang out there, or whatever. My daughter got married here. It just means so much to so many people. Like, what are your plans for it now? Is it just going to rot again, or is somebody going to move in there? What is going to happen to it?
Yeah, we don't, just to be very clear, we are committed to keeping the building open, keeping it running. It's going to be part of Falls Township. We're not looking to sell it or do anything else with it. We want to keep it as a central part of the history of this township, and all the things you talked about, the uses of it. We have no plans of stopping that or getting rid of that. If the people who are in the building change, doesn't mean that we have plans on doing anything other than keeping it, what it is right now. So I apologize if that was if that wasn't clarified. Maybe we didn't make that a clear statement. I mean, we're separating the building, from the building's going to be there. It's been there for 301 years. No matter who's in it or not.
It almost fell down once. It almost.
Yeah, well, that was obviously, it was a long time ago, and we have no intention. I have especially no intention. I don't think the rest of the board does either, of ever letting that happen again. We've invested quite a bit of money recently, and we're continuing to look to, make improvements to it. So, the occupants.
Because you didn't want to make the improvements that it needs.
No.
I mean, I've been trying to think of it. I've been trying to figure out why. I mean, why does a woman have to be fired because her husband no longer is doing whatever his job, whether he retired or resigned or was fired or whatever happened? Why does his wife have to leave?
Well, it was the lease agreement that was signed by the township and by the Reeses. I mean, the lease agreement very clearly states, that's, one connects to the other. That's.
Was all this planned when the lease agreement was
No, the lease
issued?
agreement was done years ago. It was not recent.
I know, that's what makes it so sad. It was done years ago. I think all this was done years ago.
No. Oh. Okay, those are all the names on the list. Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Dell?
Andrew Dell, Falls Township. I'd like to continue where Debbie left off. I watched, I was plowing snow and couldn't make it to the last meeting and preparing. It's like Groundhog's Day. Every time I turn around, I feel like I'm in the same truck plowing the same snow. But someone was here and they said that you stated that Mr. Reese resigned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I talked to Mr. Reese and he's under the silly assumption he was fired. Now, did he resign or was he fired? Is my first question. Second question is, why would you take a man like Mr. Reese and a woman like Mrs. Reese who love where they're at, they love their job, they love what they're doing, 14 years on the job. What is it that he did that was so despicable that for no future call, no ongoing problems, no letters of reprimand? I mean, I've only seen this guy recommended and get awards, and everybody loves these people. For him to just be cast away like that is very disturbing to me, and disturbing, I believe, to almost everybody in this township. And everybody wants to know what he did that was so awful, that 14 years of service. Mr. Harvey, you're a school teacher, you're in the school union, Mr. Boraski, your electrical union. You know that if you did something horrid, you have to do something horrible to get fired from your job. What is it that Mr. Reese did that made him vanish in a day?
No, I wasn't sure if you had something else. First, we're not going to get into personnel matters. We're not going to discuss any kind of specifics about anything other than what we've already said publicly, which was that the township, the board of supervisors, the manager felt that there was a need for a change of direction in Park and Rec. We thanked Mr. Reese and Mrs. Reese for the work they've done here. We don't wish them any ill will. We wish them the best. But the fact of the matter is, a change was made. Mr. Reese did resign. It was effective, I think, the day after our last meeting, which Wednesday, I forget what the date was, but the 5th, I guess it was.
He actually resigned his position. He actually said, I resign, I'm leaving this place. And
Mr. Harvey, I'm going to recommend that you don't answer that question. It's a personnel matter. And there is an agreement with Mr. Reese, and part of that is that we will not talk, there'll be no disparaging comments regarding Mr. Reese. So I'm going to recommend that you don't respond to that question.
Well, I'm not making any disparaging comments about Mr. Reese. I love Mr. Reese and Mrs. Reese. I think they're terrific people. I want to see
my
him.
My point is that I don't think there should be a discussion here regarding a personnel matter with someone who we have wrapped up all issues with, Mr. Reese, that there should not be an issue or a discussion from the member of the board as to whether or not he resigned, was terminated, or anything in between.
It is not anyone's right to know except for the board and the township.
It's a personnel issue.
No, I think, number one, I just don't think it was right. You guys have to live with yourselves. I can look myself in the mirror, but good luck with that.
Okay. Any other public comment? Yes, sir. Good.
My name is Vince Cavallo. I've been Falls Township resident for over 26 years, and I'm a little ashamed to say that I'm a Falls Township resident after the incident that happened in the snowstorm the other night. I worked over 85 hours last week, and I got woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning to somebody towing my vehicle, and I want to know why. Now, I'm not the only one.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, there were 59, I believe, vehicles towed that night. Vehicles were towed if they were in a snow emergency routes, if
This
they
is
were
correct.
blocking if they were blocking the plows that had to come through.
That would be the drive.
Right. Well, there were multiple, streets. But just
Drive.
okay. The protocol the police followed was to. When they encountered a vehicle that was in the street, well, first I think they went around the afternoon of and put orange flyers in underneath the windshield wipers or somewhere on the vehicle or on the whatever it was. It wasn't just cars, that's why I'm saying vehicles. The police officers would then go to the house or basically run the license plate, find out who belonged or who owned the vehicle, go to that house, try to make contact with the person that way. The lights would be flashing in the streets. It was very, very obvious that it was a police business. It wasn't just a random knock on the door. If they were not able to make contact that way, they would try to make phone contact using the contact information available to them through their database. If they still were not able to make contact with the person, then the vehicle would be towed because it was violating an ordinance 203-3, which states that the police in emergency situations, which was a snow emergency, have the right to remove vehicles that are in snow emergency routes.
Right, and also with that code, it also says on there that if the thing wasn't enforced until 10 o'clock, they had till 9 o'clock in the morning to move your vehicles. And I understand what you said about them leaving things on the vehicles. I found out tonight from somebody on the drive, there was things put on the vehicles, but on the side streets, there was nothing. I mean, I got home at 12 o'clock at night. There was no flashing lights on the tow truck, the flatbed, or the officer's vehicle. I didn't get woken up by the officer knocking on the door. I believe at my house personally, he rang the doorbell, which didn't work. My neighbor ended up calling me up and telling me that they're towing my vehicle. I could see my vehicle from where I'm at, but not the tow truck. So, I mean, I was this close to turning into a criminal that night. Imagine working over 85 hours and waking up in the middle of the night and somebody's trying to steal your vehicle. The officer tells me, well, he's doing his job. Well, I didn't hire him to tow my vehicle. I think it was totally wrong, and I think you guys really need to give us a little bit more notice. I mean, I park in the street all the time. I mean, I understand the weather. I understand how it is to tow. Plowing. I do it myself, not on side streets, but I know the guy down the street from me, he does plow for the township. I understand it. In a perfect world, it would be beautiful to have all the vehicles off the street so you could plow the streets. The vehicles were off the street. They plowed the streets. I'm not knocking the guys that plow, but after I was able to put my vehicle back on the street, I had to clear out a 6.5 foot span from the curb to put my vehicle back. So 6 feet on one side, 6 feet on the other side, that's 12 feet. If all the vehicles were off, how come they didn't get closer? But anyway, that's not really, why I'm making comment. My comment is, if they're going to send an officer out at 4 o'clock to knock on your door to wake you up to move your vehicle, why didn't they send them out at 9 o'clock when we were up? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, granted, they didn't tow my vehicle, and it didn't turn bad. I lucked out, let's say, but I was this close to jumping in my vehicle and ripping the winch off the back of the flatbed truck. My truck wasn't on the truck, but they ended up, there was 3 flatbed trucks on my street at the same time. I mean, come on. Who's making the money? Rob's, and how much is the cut the township's getting?
Township doesn't get any kind of a cut. It's very simple. There's a law it's also in many ways, I think, for most people, and all the feedback, to be quite honest with you, Mr. Cavallo, this is the first negative feedback we have heard. Everything from anybody we've talked to since Saturday has been, or last week, has been nothing but positive.
All the people
And I
who got their
understand,
vehicles
well,
towed?
I understand that there are people that are upset about it, and certainly the police have been getting calls about it, but in terms of us, we're getting a lot of calls from people, or thanks by people who say, the vehicle shouldn't be on the road. Everybody knew a storm was coming. Everybody, this is not the first storm of the winter. Everybody knew it was going to be bad. And it was hard enough job, as you said, for a plow driver to make it down streets. Even the wider streets is difficult sometimes. And so just common courtesy would be move the car out of the street.
All right, well, normally
So-
I do put my vehicles on the yard. After the first time that we did have snow, I mean, it was snowed up,
Right.
and everything was blocked. I mean, I told
Understand.
you, I work 80 some hours. I'm supposed to come home at midnight and open up the front yard so I could squeeze another vehicle in the front yard. I mean, I was leaving for work in an hour and 15 minutes. 6 o'clock I would have been gone. The time it snowed before that, they didn't plow our street until 5 o'clock. Granted, this time they plowed at, somebody told me 10:30, 9:30, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would have been well gone by then.
Yeah, the plow trucks come around at different times. I know my street gets done at various times. It's when the guys get out, they get out. In terms of police officers making their way around, we have a police force obviously that's not endless in numbers. I mean, they have a wide variety of things they have to do. One of the reasons why we were able to make a more concerted effort this time was that we actually put more officers on duty because we knew the storm was going to be really, really bad. And the drivers before, in the previous storm, the one before that, they had encountered a number of cars that they just couldn't get around. Plow driver had to stop, back up off the road, call a smaller truck away from whatever road they were plowing so they could come and plow the road. They weren't calling police, or they were calling police, but the police couldn't answer because of a high number of other calls the cops were already dealing with. And so we didn't do as good a job with plowing that time because we couldn't get the cars off the street. This time we called in more police officers so that we knew we'd have enough people to do their normal job they have to do and do this job.
Right, but you didn't give us enough any warning, none, on the side streets to move our vehicles. I understand, the way when I called it said there's a sign. Well, there is a sign. When you go in the section, it says about, no trucks over 26,000 pounds. Underneath that, there's a sign about the emergency route. I understand the drive is an emergency route. The side streets are not. If you can move your vehicles, that's fine, but I don't think we should have been towed. I mean, somebody told me $1,000 that somebody got billed for their car being towed. And a lot of other people that I talked to said they don't even know where their vehicle's at. And Rob's towed them, and they towed the vehicles out of the township.
Yeah, the vehicle we call, there are 7 or 8 tow truck drivers on our list.
I think it's around 10.
10 now? So there's 10 tow truck drivers on our list. The calls were alternating so that no one company got, as you mentioned.
Like I said, there was
wasn't-
three flatbeds on my street all at the same time, and everything seemed to happen at 4 o'clock in the morning. Coincidence or not, I mean, from Million Hills, I heard 30 cars got towed, and the guy at work, he said somebody knocked on his door at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're knocking on my door at 4 o'clock.
I don't know what time
I mean,
it was.
it just seems a little shaky. You know what I mean?
Well, and probably I guess the reason why it's hitting people and they're getting so surprised by it is it's been an ordinance for a long time. We didn't pass it. It's been on the books for a while.
Right, on the
but
drives.
it isn't always, no, not even on the drives. It's 2 inches, I think anything over 2 inches of snow, cars have to be off the roads, and it's not just snow emergency routes. So it's another ordinance that's been on the books. It just isn't always enforced. And we haven't had to enforce it for a while because we haven't had winters like this in a long time. But it is something that people are gonna have to be mindful of. That having a car on the road, and I understand the work schedule, and obviously we can't make allowance necessarily for that because we don't know who's working what hours, who's not working what hours. All we know is there's a car in the street. It's going to block a plow. It has to be moved. We try and make every effort to let the person know, to try and get them to move it. And
all right, well, I mean, even in my situation, I mean, I came out, the guy had the chains on my truck. It wasn't pulled up onto the flatbed. I came out ready to move my vehicle. They was like, well, give me $150. Are you kidding me?
No, I wasn't. I want to talk.
The only thing he was going to get was reverse.
Right.
And then the cop probably would have, aggravated assault and all this. So here, a good old law-abiding citizen, something like that was going to happen. Anyway, I just wanted to state my case, and I don't think it was
appreciate
right.
it.
And I think a little more warning. I mean, people say Facebook and all that stuff. I don't use a computer, so that wouldn't be no good for me. I mean, like I said, they come around at 9 o'clock and said something, totally different story.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we actually are going to look into different technology, whether it's like a phone call or something like that as well, so we can notify people quickly. But Facebook, our web page is updated, but if you're not on there.
Right, yeah, you got to be on a computer. I mean,
the TV, yeah.
The schools have a thing where, when they're not having school, they call cell phones. I mean, if you guys are going to tow our vehicles in the middle of the night, I mean, how hard is it to link up to everybody's telephone number and do that?
That's what Mr. Rogers.
And that's what I think you should do.
The only problem with that, and this is what we're trying to work through, is that obviously with everyone with cell phones now, you can't use a phone book anymore because you're not going to get a lot of people. So that's one of the things that we would actually need people to give us their phone numbers for us to
Right, well,
call
everybody pays their
themselves.
taxes, so at the time of paying taxes, you have an emergency, a number that if something like that happens and it arises that you got, it's on an automatic thing where it does it. Then that way I wouldn't have a problem with them.
Right.
I mean, not that I wouldn't have a problem with them towing my vehicle.
Right. No, I understand.
However,
The
at least I would have
notification
known.
part. All right, I understand.
You know what I mean? So, anyway, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Harvey, just so we're clear, there are two different ordinances at play here. One is the parking regulations, and you are correct. On the snow emergency routes, when there is a certain amount of snow, you have to remove your car from the street. And there really isn't notice required. It's up to the residents to be aware that if they live on a snow emergency route. This ordinance, 2033, was emergency and temporary decision that is made by the chief of police. According to Officer Ward, although the snow didn't start until late on Wednesday, Lieutenant Ward indicates that most of the cars, there was a bright orange notice that was placed on most of the cars beginning on Wednesday morning. Mr. Gray declared the snow emergency at 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening. According to Lieutenant Ward, when they went to a vehicle and saw a vehicle that was needed to be towed, they knocked on the door of the house. If they didn't get any response, they called the phone number that was listed. Lieutenant Ward also indicated that the police officers remained in the street with their overhead lights flashing to try to get attention and try to give some additional notice. When all of those things failed, when somebody didn't pay attention to the orange notice on the car, when they didn't answer their front door, when they didn't answer their phone, or they didn't see the overhead lights of the police, then at that point in time, because the plows needed to get through, the cars were towed.
Thank you. We have a couple.
One more thing. I did not get a phone call on my house phone, and there was no flashing lights on either the flatbed or the other thing. And just one more thing. There was a trailer, a lawnmower, a landscape trailer on my street. They didn't bother that.
What was the street again, Mr. Cavallo? What street was it? I'm sorry. What was it?
Thimbleberry.
Thimbleberry. Okay. Thank you.
I got a question too.
We'll just, you have to use the microphone. You can come up, sir, and then we'll go to you next, okay?
How you doing? My name's Darren Struzeri. I'm a 17-year resident in Falls. I too got my son, his stepson, got his vehicle towed. No notice, no nothing. I don't understand. And I didn't get no orange tag either. And he's in Virginia. I would have moved if I would have known that. I would have, brought it in the driveway. I thought someone stole it. No orange, no lights, no flashing, no bada bing, knocking the door, nothing. So now I don't even know where his vehicle's at. Can someone tell me where he took it? Is it Rob's, Joe's, Henry's, what?
Okay. Yeah, Lieutenant Ward we can have some idea of where exactly the cars were towed. We can figure that out. If we can get contact information for you, we'll let you know where it is.
I appreciate it because he's upset. He's in Virginia working,
and you live on.
It was stolen.
You live on Thimbleberry too?
Yeah. Okay. 17-year resident, being here from Jersey, and I don't know what's worse, Falls or Jersey. You tell me.
Jersey.
Jersey, it's a no-brainer.
I lived there a lot of years.
My name is David Wiggins. I'm a resident of Falls Township as well for 8 years, and I live on 113 Village Lane. So my problem is the same thing. I was informed, or actually my wife was informed by Lieutenant Ward that the police did not have to contact either by phone or by orange letter or anything else. We would have moved our car if we were contacted. Prime example with the phone number thing, 2 years ago, there was a drunk driver that totaled a vehicle that was parked in the same spot, a vehicle of ours, and within 5 minutes of the police arriving, they called my house, woke us up, and we went out and handled the issue. So my biggest thing here is there was no notification whatsoever, no orange letter, no phone call, no knock on the door. I had neighbors that were 3 houses down that were notified by a knock on the door. When I woke up that next morning, walked outside, again, my wife thought the car was stolen. Shoveling out my driveway, my neighbor came over and said, "You didn't get a knock on your door?" I said, "No." She's like, "I think your car got towed." So again, this either one way or another, it does not make sense. I was also informed by Lieutenant Ward about the ordinance posted on Falls Township. It clearly states in Ordinance 203-28 that if a snowstorm starts after 10 p.m. through the hours of 9 a.m., that residents have until 9 a.m. to move their cars, and 12 hours after that they have to be off the streets. So again, this storm did not start till after 10 p.m., probably closer to midnight. My car was towed by 12:30 in the morning. So how, as a resident, are we supposed to be aware of this? My neighbor that has lived there her whole life said she was not even aware of this ordinance. So if there's an ordinance that's passed, maybe there should be some way that the township is letting by newsletter, something, the residents know. Again, we were instructed to follow what is posted clearly on Falls Township website, and even if we followed it, our car would have been towed. So my major concern is exactly what this gentleman said, is somebody getting a padded pocket for this, because there's no reason why one person 3 houses down should be notified and another person is not. I live at Village and Base. So I'm on Village Lane. There was a boat, a 24-foot boat, left on the corner of Base. If anything, at the corner of a T intersection, that should have been more of a problem, because I watch the tow trucks, the plow trucks all the time, try to navigate and turn around in that intersection right there. So my car being there for, I've always parked a car there for the 8 years that I've lived in Falls Township. I've never had a problem with it there. And to wake up one morning to my car being towed and not know about it, I am extremely frustrated and don't know where to go from here.
Well, I agree. It should be, in our understanding and our belief and our goal is to make sure if we set out some kind of policy, it's followed. So if your neighbor gets a knock, you should get a knock. If there's an orange,
there was no orange letter. I was home before going to work. Yeah. So there was not in the afternoon a letter either put on the car, my mailbox, a knock on my door. Mm-hmm. And again, the phone thing. They had my number to call me when my car was wrecked 2 years ago. So again, your
number hasn't changed at all.
Number has not changed. Right. I have a dog that if you were to go like that, he would bark.
Right.
They can't say that they came to the door. The response from Lieutenant Ward was, "We don't have to give you that courtesy."
Well,
he was.
Yeah, the ordinance, and I think we were following 203 or
203-3,
which is a little bit different than the one you have there. But it's in essence the obligation on knowing there's a storm coming and knowing that the plows are going to be coming through is on the resident. What Lieutenant Ward's referencing is that the knock is a courtesy. You're supposed to know that my car's on the street, the plows are going to come through. I better get my car off the street.
That's all well, but in the 4 storms previous, this didn't happen, okay? 8 years of living in Falls Township, this has never happened before. And we've had bigger snowstorms. We've had bigger snowstorms than this last snowstorm, and this hasn't happened.
We haven't had as many in 1 year.
We haven't had as many, but we're talking about inches here. So when it says
We're also talking about cumulative snowstorms and the frustration from people that don't park on the road. The majority of calls and emails and texts I get are, why do people park on the road? The plows can't clear the road.
Right.
Why isn't my street plowed? The street plow isn't. Their street isn't plowed because the plows can't go as fast as they need to, one, push the snow further off the road, and 2, to get through the road to get somewhere else. So we took a lot of slack for having cars on the road as well.
And
unfortunately, you were on the receiving end.
I'm on the receiving end, but also in the same, what this gentleman said, the roads weren't even plowed nearly as much as they usually are. Again, with that, a plow just being able to fit through, and you have all the excess snow on either side. So even if there wasn't a car there, they didn't clear the road the whole way.
Well, they're not.
There are 2 passes.
And there's and
If
there's also,
you can, I can pick it in my house right now and show you where the car was, and if the car was still there, there would be snow past the car. So again, it's not that my car was in the way that they couldn't plow the road before, and it's, this is what I don't understand. There's not a set standard.
Right.
That's my main frustration here.
And I understand it, and it does make sense. And it seems like the rules have changed. In fact, it wasn't that the rules have changed; it's that it's being enforced more now, and a lot of it has to do with the 2 things Mr. Rocco brought up, which is the first, the volume of snow that we're dealing with,
already there,
but also the level of complaints we've gotten from people who are furious about the fact that it takes a long time to get to their street isn't done till the end of the day or whatever, that the street isn't done right, they can't, people are leaving their cars in, it's blocking the plows, and so we decided to make a real concerted effort this time. The one thing I did point out with Mr. Cavallo too, just to let you know, is that there's a good chance that your car may or was close to being towed in an earlier storm, but wasn't, because our drivers have instructions when they're out and they get a car that's in their way that they can't get through. Their instructions are to call the police and get the car towed. They sometimes don't do that because they're trying to just do their job and they don't want to sort of make people mad. They're afraid maybe it'll come back on us. They have tried in the past, and occasions, the one storm there was something going on that the police were tied up with, and they couldn't send anybody. There were accidents, all kinds of things. They said, look, we can't send anybody. You're just going to have to go around the car. So for the drivers, they'll tell you that it is a nightmare dealing with those vehicles. And I know you see them run down the street, and it looks like they're easy to drive. Those things are not a whole lot better on snowy streets and icy streets than any other vehicle. And to be that size, and know there's all kinds of small cars around you and have to navigate your way through is incredibly difficult. Certainly we can take a look at the procedures, as Mr. Rocco mentioned, about how to do this, but part of
why tow some cars not, and again, like the landscape trailer, the boat. I took pictures of the 2 other cars that were still on my street at 5 o'clock in the morning because my wife got up to go away on business, and that's when she realized our car was gone. So I don't understand how, again, at any given time, that if you're going to tow one car, why would you leave 2 that are and 3 houses away?
And I think it's a fair question. Obviously, we don't have the answer because we weren't we weren't on the streets at the time. So we can try and figure out, and we can try and make sure that hopefully we don't have to deal with it this year anymore. But if there is a change in procedure that needs to happen, I think we can make that. But I think overall, what we want to do is we're going to continue to be aggressive with this. This isn't the only time. Hopefully, it's the only time we have to deal with it because people will know to get their cars out of the street. But I think we're trying to get people to understand that this is something that we've been kind of letting go for a while, and we've through our fault and previous board's faults too. But we're not going to be doing that anymore. As for in terms of your car, I'm assuming you know where it is, or you've gotten it, or
No.
Okay.
So and again, like this gentleman with his sons in North Carolina,
right.
I'm sure they're not probably going to let him go retrieve his car because if it's in his son's name,
right.
So these tow companies are raking in at the minimum of $100 a day storage fee. I have no idea what's going to come out of my pocket. So now, as a resident, I'm asked to pay out of pocket.
What's the policy in terms of notification of people whose cars are towed? or what's in terms of, obviously they have to be made aware of the fact that their cars are at a certain place, and that should be done within a timely manner.
Correct. The township only has a certain number of towers on the tow list, so we'll make sure that each tow company is contacted and notifies the owner of each vehicle that it has where the vehicle is, if they have not done so already. The fees that are charged are limited by the township's ordinance and the fee schedule that accompanies that ordinance.
And what is that?
So they don't charge, if we ask them to tow, they don't charge their normal towing rate. They're not allowed to.
They shouldn't actually charge storage.
Storage,
Can't.
right.
Until we're aware of it also.
Yeah.
No, I think that's actually a fair point.
So once I
don't disagree
find
with you.
out where
So-
my car is, how do I even know what I should be paying then? Or, I mean, honestly, I don't think I should have to pay anything.
Right.
But to answer that question, what's the answer to that question?
We can certainly provide a copy of the ordinance or the resolution. I don't know offhand, I don't recall what the storage fees are. I do know that if the tow company is not open the day following the tow or the weekend following the tow, that they're not allowed to charge for that time period.
And holidays too.
Right.
Yeah, and
that's really
So,
doesn't answer
they
my
have to.
question.
I don't
they
know-
have
I don't
to-
know.
They have to let you know. They can't, and they have to let you know, and they shouldn't be charging you
So if my
for-
tow bill's $1,000,
well,
It won't be $1,000.
That won't be $1,000.
Yeah.
all right, let's say it's $500.
It probably won't be that much either.
So can we make sure that they don't, we'll make sure that they don't charge you
Yeah, they're
storage?
not
We'll
gonna-
certainly reach out to all the tow companies and remind them of the fee schedule and what they're allowed to be charging.
Right.
So I should only be paying for a tow then?
If you're once you're notified of where the vehicle is, then you will be responsible for storage fees.
notifying me then?
It'll be on the tow company to notify everybody. I don't
I can
know
tell you
that-
this from past experience with tow companies, they're not going to call me. They're going to let my car sit as long as they possibly can.
And if they
Yeah,
then
but we
try to
regulate
get
them.
more money from
Yeah.
us.
We regulate them, though.
And if
we
they-
regulate them.
So that's what I'm asking
if
my
you-
regulation. What's the regulation then?
We don't know offhand.
Now,
That's
it's
the problem.
It's the ordinance.
That's the answer that I'm asking. Is
Hold
there
that book up
is
for a
there
second.
You have to we have to
ordinance
find your
book?
vehicle first. The tow company will have to notify you. If you feel that you have been overcharged, you can lodge a complaint with the township, and the township will investigate it.
Right.
Along
And
with my
and
office.
if we find that they've been guilty, we can kick them off the tow list, and they lose a lot of money.
Right. And
Each
if-
and,
Yeah,
each and
if
every
they-
tow company
yeah.
that responded during the storm will be notified
Right.
that they need to notify each and every vehicle owner that they towed and that they must comply with the ordinance. And if they have not notified the owner of the vehicle that they have towed, that they are not to be charging storage.
I
That
find it
notification will go out tomorrow.
it's good. I was just saying
strange
it's
that they
good. We're
haven't
talking a
notified
week
them yet.
tomorrow.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're talking a week tomorrow. So again,
Right.
Right, and just to-
if my car has been sitting, if this was my only car, I would have not known where my car is for a week, and I have still not been notified from from whatever tow company that towed it. If my car was towed, there should be at least a 24-hour period that we're notified.
Right.
And that's what I'm asking is you're saying there's
And again,
a regulation.
the normal circumstances are that the vehicle is involved in an accident or some other reason needs to be towed. So the owner obviously knows where the vehicle is being towed to. In this circumstance,
This is normal, yeah.
this is obviously an unusual circumstance. So we will be contacting each and every tow company tomorrow to remind them of the ordinance and things of that nature.
Yeah. And they have to.
And Mr. Harvey, Mr. Gray has just shown me an email from Lieutenant Pletnick. The police department is currently working on a list of where the 59 cars went. They do not know the exact price that the tower will charge until the bill is submitted to the owner, depending on whether or not it was a standard tow or whether or not there were some unusual circumstances. As Mr. Boraski pointed out this afternoon during our staff meeting, we've heard stories where some of these cars were caked in snow and ice, obviously haven't been moved for weeks. And for those that had to be dug out and pulled out, the cost is going to be a little bit more expensive. But according to Lieutenant Pletnick, a regular standard tow is $125, and that includes 30 days of storage. And again, some were charged more for being stuck or frozen in the snow.
Yeah.
So I should at minimum look to pay $125 tow fee.
Yes.
And when will I know when my car, or when and where it's at?
It could be right next door, actually.
Yeah,
I think what Lieutenant Pletnick is saying, that they're working on that now to have all of the owners notified.
And is it the tow company that's going to be notifying us?
I think Lieutenant Pletnick has indicated that they are working, the police department is working with the tow companies to notify the owners.
So if I wasn't able to be notified prior to the tow, how are you going to be able to notify me after the tow?
Well, Mr. Wiggins, then perhaps you might want to contact the police department. You might want to tell them the address where you live,
Lieutenant
and then
Ward
they may
back
be able to
is-
give you a better idea of who may have towed that vehicle. They'll also be able to give you a list of who the towers were on that evening, and you might be able to call them to find out if they have your car.
Lieutenant Ward's going to take your information, so he can make sure that you get, and the other two.
That information, we have written reports on all of it. If you want to come in the back here, we'll go find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, Mr. Harvey said, the township doesn't make a penny off of towing. Zero.
We don't.
Actually, it's kind of a headache for us. Look what we're dealing with.
As I said, we had to call in police just to do this because it was becoming such a problem for our plow drivers. So that's costing us money to have cars in the street. It slows down the plows.
I understand that, and again, as a resident, if I'm following the code this was posted, we were instructed to pay attention to Falls Township website. I'm following this code. I printed exactly from Falls Township page. That if I'm following that code, how am I in the wrong then?
Right.
That's what I don't understand. I don't understand what code 203, whatever.
203-3, it's emergency police powers when the chief of police or the township manager declare an emergency. And emergency can be a snowstorm, it can be a flood, it can be a fire. They can temporarily suspend parking regulations.
Was that code posted? That's what I'm saying. Like where as a resident can.
It's on the township website.
Yeah.
There's
multiple ones. That's the thing.
So it wasn't on the homepage then? That's what I'm asking. The homepage, there was a highlighted yellow, snow alert thing.
During the snow emergency.
Yep.
So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going.
Yeah. All right, Mr. So Mr. Lieutenant Ward's going to work with you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
But appreciate you, Lieutenant, and with the other gentleman as well. And we'll work with the towers to make sure that the fees are appropriate. Okay. All right, we're going to move to item 2 on our agenda, which is consider purchase of a street sweeper for Public Works Department. Mr. Gray?
Joe Arnao from the Public Works Department has secured pricing on a new street sweeper. This sweeper will replace a 1999 Elgin, which just expired recently. The township has budgeted the funding for the sweeper in the 2014 budget, and the price is actually coming under budget. The cost of this piece of equipment is $258,167, including options and warranties. The board is asked to consider this purchase. In addition, Mr. Joe Arnao, Public Works Foreman, is here to answer any questions the board may have.
Mr. Arnao?
Good evening.
So,
You look pretty good after all them snowstorms.
So the street sweeper, is this the only sweeper we have right now?
Yes, right now we have a 1999 Elgin, which expired right before Christmas. It's not worth fixing, and I'd like to auction it after we get this new one. We might be able to get a fair amount of money for it.
Okay. Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Arnao?
I have nothing.
I just see the note, it's actually been budgeted, right?
Yes.
For this coming year, and you actually came in under budget a little bit, right?
Yes, we demonstrated two sweepers, two vacuum sweepers, one Elgin and one Johnson. Johnson, hands down, just beat out the Elgin. And they were both actually around the same amount of money. But the Elgin with the warranties and low fuel consumption, noise suppression for the rear motor, a lot of different pluses.
Okay. Okay.
Did we buy our last one new?
Yes, it was 99.
Yeah.
It was.
So you think like 15 years is about the...
That's about max for a sweeper.
About max.
Sweepers just.
How often do we use it?
Dirt.
Like twice a year? Do we do the streets twice a year?
No, we do every street once a year in the spring.
Okay.
This spring, we're going to have to come up with an alternative plan because our sweeper's down. So
Yeah.
I'm looking into a rental or something of that.
Oh, yeah. I imagine there's a lot of cinders and whatnot on the road with all the stuff that's been put down as well.
Not too bad for our streets. I mean, right now I'm mixing sand with our salt just to stretch it because we're so low. But we haven't used any cinders yet.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. PennDOT's starting to use cinders, so I think even they're starting to get worried about their salt.
Okay. That's all I have, but you guys have been doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. It's pretty straightforward. I was going to mention it later. Mr. Rock already did. I mean, the amount of work you guys have put in, obviously, is way above and beyond. And I hear nothing but good things from people about the kind of work and how it gets done. And a lot from people that don't live in the township who say that they can tell they're in Falls Township by the road conditions. That as soon as it goes to blacktop and not ice, they know they're in Falls Township. So it's, and I hear that from people from Lower Makefield, Bristol Township, Middletown. It's so obviously a testament to you and the guys that you're working with. So thank them for all of us.
It helps, and to those people that say their streets aren't wide enough or this or that, the problem is when the first couple storms came through, and you have that windrow start, and you're going around cars, and then you try to go. They get the cars off the street, and it's been 10 degrees, 20 degrees for 2-3 weeks. And then you get a storm, and all of a sudden you're hitting where these cars were parked. You're getting thrown, you're busting plows, you're busting pins. It's, you're really beating up the equipment, when you're trying to do that.
Right. Okay.
Tough for everybody.
It's right. It's tougher than people think it is. All right. So the amount would be $258,167 for this sweeper. Is there any public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to approve the expenditure $258,167 for a Johnston sweeper?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, item 3 is consider proposal from S&S Wildlife for geese management at Falls Township Community Park. This is a standard, this is a sign of spring coming every year. Mr. Gray.
All here.
Okay. Well, let's do this for whoever started this one.
Township received a proposal from Rick Shadle at S&S Wildlife Control Services for the egg addling program at the community park. Cost of the egg addling program and the permits is $5,225. This is the same amount the township has paid for this program since 2010. This amount has been included in the budget. The board is asked to consider this proposal from S&S Wildlife in the amount of $5,225.
Okay. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Gray?
Yeah, I just know that we've been doing this for a number of years. How many more years do we have to go before we can prove to the authorities that we've done everything we possibly can before we can use extreme measures with the geese?
Well, that's something we can look into and find out.
The federal government, I believe, requires a minimum of 3 years. So after 3 years, we can approach them again. I believe this would be the 3rd year.
That would be great news.
Mr. Brasky?
No questions.
Mr. Rocco?
No, I mean, unfortunately, I think it's necessary. I'm not 100% sure I guess it's neutralized them, but it seems like there's a lot of geese down there. This year, I think with the dogs, are all on the lakeside instead of the sports side, but.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I can see a difference. But I think you always need a combination of things, and yeah, I hope this is the 3rd year so that we can do a more aggressive thing next year.
And it would require an application process, so obviously nothing's guaranteed, but we can certainly approach them again.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions from the public? See one hand. Motion to open public comment.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
This is the same program that we've had year after year, and we continue to throw nickels at this thing when, 20 times when we can do it with a dime once and get rid of them. Addling is nothing more than population control. If I recall the presentation last year, despite the addling, the geese population here grew somewhat. Addling doesn't get rid of the geese. What we want to do, get rid of these disease-carrying beasts once and for all. Now, there's a thing called Flight Control Plus, and it's sprayed on areas where geese are feeding. The product is safe for humans. It's safe for wildlife. What it does is it causes a mild stomach discomfort in the geese and other waterfowl, which Mr. Dents was saying there were so many seagulls on the field one day, his wife didn't know what it was. So we can get rid of them too. What it does is it absorbs ultraviolet light that we can't see, but the geese can see. And when they fly over the area, they recognize that with the stomach ache, and they leave to go feed somewhere else. Now Chairman's enjoying this because I think he'd like to get rid of the geese. There's another product that's called Rejexit. That's a spray repellent. It's sprayed on gas, and it causes a painful sensation when the geese inhale it. So it irritates their nerves, mucous membranes, and so on. Treated areas become unpalatable. Your geese are not going to go there. The product will not wash away from water or rain, and it's safe for all wildlife, including people like us. The other product is Rejected Fog Force, and it's a fogging agent. This is the last one I'm going to give you. There's a lot of products, but this is the one I like. For the management of nuisance birds, not only geese, but seagulls and so on and so forth, without harming non-targeted birds or other animals. This thing is safe. After several exposures to this fog, the birds leave the area and they don't return for the rest of the season. Why are we going around rubbing coconut oil on eggs, trying to find nests? Half of them we don't find out there. So the product's like $185 a gallon. 1 gallon treats 16 acres outdoors. Why are we spending every year $5,000? Get rid of the geese. Don't worry about controlling their population. You're not going to do that. So what I'd really like to see you do is table this and talk about these other things and say, we want to get rid of the geese, period, and do it safely. Okay? Thank you. Okay. Think about that one.
Now, I know we have, obviously this is your, I know you probably have that page of your notebook saved every year because it's pretty much the same thing every year, and it's the same products you bring up. I know, but we ask the people that do this for a living, about these products, and the answer we get is that they're very expensive and they constantly have to be reapplied. And so it's not a one-shot deal, spray it and leave. This is an incredibly labor-intensive process.
Yeah, like that flight control we asked about, and he said it's good for treating like, like a fairway on a grass or the putting green on a grass. It has to be. I mean, that's what he said. He was to
With all due respect, he's the guy who's been doing it for years. I'm going to kind of listen to the expert on it. Well,
Guys that make a living doing it.
well, yeah, the guys that could make a living selling that.
More effective than the guy we're using.
Okay. And in terms of finding nests, I mean, we don't know the success rate of finding nests. We know that they find them. We know that the geese population drop a little bit every year. So certainly we don't know, what their success rate is in finding nests, but they must be doing something right. So, any other public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is there a motion then to accept the proposal from S&S Wildlife for egg addling, $5,225?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rockman?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to switch our agenda around a little bit. We had on item 9, which is hopefully a prospective business that's looking to come into township. They had asked to be put later on the agenda because they weren't sure when they would all be here. They had some other commitments this evening, some of the members of their team, but they are here now. And so we're going to move to, this is a sketch plan for a company called Elcon. We haven't done a sketch plan in a little while. I see Mr. Profi coming forward with his with the company he represents and other professionals. Just for the public, a sketch plan is essentially a very, very preliminary, sort of a sneak peek at a potential business. We are not voting on this. We don't vote to accept or deny or reject at this point. This is a chance for the company to come forward, present to the public and to us what they'd like to do. And at some point in the future, we'll have a preliminary plan that will be come before the Planning Commission and also other boards, and then eventually come to us, and then finally a final plan. Ms. Profi, is this the only thing, one you have? Do you have another one of those, or just one? Just thinking about the members of the public. Maybe if you could.
Copies of presentation, which includes the site plan. You guys like the small version?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you. So the public can see what you're showing there.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
I think we actually.
Oh, we have I have electronically. Actually, you can hold it.
Yeah, actually, I have one. I have mine.
I have it.
Everybody's good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. If you want, sir, you see if anybody in the public like to have those. It's up to you if you want to distribute those.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Tom Profi on behalf of the applicant. On behalf of the applicant, Elcon Recycling Services, I'd like to thank the Board of Supervisors for allowing Elcon to present its sketch plan and project summary this evening. Dr. Elgott is here to present this evening to explain the project and answer any questions that the board may have, or the engineers or any of the township professionals. The project requires certain permits from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, and Elcon thought it would be best for all concerned if it came before the board prior to the township receiving some notification in the mail that a proposed use in the township came from DEP. We thought in an effort to be transparent and open, we'd come before the board, explain the project, show you the sketch plan, and once again, we thank you for putting us on the agenda. So at this point in time, Greg Ventresca, who's going to be the project manager, will introduce the remainder of the team, including our engineers. Thank you.
Good evening. As Tom said, my name is Greg Ventresca with Keystone Redevelopment Group. We are Elcon's United States representative for the project. Currently, Elcon is an Israeli-based company and looking to establish a U.S. operation, the first of hopefully many in the U.S. Here in Falls Township at KIPC. Before I introduce Dr. Elgott, who's the founder and CEO of Elcon, I'd like to just briefly go through the development team. Tom Profi who obviously just spoke, is handling the land development on behalf of Elcon and Carly Mandio. Attorney they'll be handling the environmental permitting, who's not here with us tonight, is Joel Bolstein with Fox Rothschild. Eric Garten with Gilmore Associates will be handling the civil engineering process. And Marjorie Fitzpatrick with IES Engineers will be handling the environmental permitting for Elcon for the project as it relates to DEP. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Elgott. Like I said, he is the founder and CEO of Elcon, and the company was established back in 2003 in Israel. And Dr. Elgott's primary background is he is a PhD, has a PhD in physics from Cornell University. And so now I'll turn over the presentation to him to give you an overview on Elcon.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
I'm Dr. Elgott. I'm the founder and CEO of the company. Elcon was established about 10 years ago in Israel as a center for the treatment and purification of industrial wastewater. We are serving industries all over the country, and at the moment we are serving almost all the types of industries in Israel, mostly chemical industry, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, basically all industries that produce wastewater that has to be treated, has to be purified. The company is the business model is of build and operate. Build on operate. We build, we own, we operate the plants. The wastewater is being transported to us by the owners, by the producer of the wastewater. We take the wastewater into the plant, we treat the wastewater, we purify it, and basically we sell the service of purification for the plants that produce wastewater. At the moment, we are operating the plant in Israel at a capacity of about 100,000 tons a year. So for the past 10 years, we have treated over 1 million tons of wastewater very successfully. And we are now operating 24/7, and the plant is in full capacity. And we're starting to globalize operations, and we want to open the first plant abroad here in Pennsylvania, in the United States, in Pennsylvania. Our plan is to build a plant which is about 150,000 tons a year of wastewater. And it will be situated in the KIPC zone, and we will have about 50 employees altogether, management, engineers, operators, technicians, maintenance people all over. And also it will serve as a headquarters for the North American operation of the company. So basically we will, at some time in the future, maybe 2 or 3 years after the first phase of the plant, we can double the plant and double the manpower that operate the plant and the management for the company that will operate in the United States. We plan to have a plan, as I said, at 150,000 tons a year capacity, and we'll serve industries from all over the Northeast and from all the way from Massachusetts to down to North Carolina. Instead of hauling the waste to Texas and to Tennessee and to all the other states, and instead of paying $100 for 1 ton of wastewater, it is used to pay out about $400 to $500 a ton. The industries will save a lot of money by using our services. We will do it more cost effectively because we have a patented technology which is much more cost effective than the standard processes. And it will be here, very close to the manufacturing facilities. So we can save a lot of money to the industry by providing a service which is a local, low cost, and much more cost effective. We plan to build a plant by the end of the year to get the permit to build a plant in less than 10 months. The plant will be operational, and we will be able to have a full capacity within 2 to 3 months after we start operations in the new plant that we are designing here. If the plant is successful, we want to duplicate the plant, have another plant in the west side of Pennsylvania, and maybe another plant in Texas or in the Louisiana border, someplace for the petrochemical industry, because there's a big need here in the U.S. for these type of services. They are very expensive. Not many service providers exist, and since we have a much better technology, we can provide the service at a lower cost and save money to the producers, as well as make enough money to sustain our own operations.
Okay.
So
all right.
If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Sure. And we also have as I said, the engineer and environmental engineer as well, who can answer any kind of questions we have. Again, we're not voting. This is not a preliminary or a final plan. This is merely a company that's kind of a very new and a different technology coming just to give us an idea of what they'd like to do. Obviously, if they come back with a preliminary plan, we'd have a full meeting, would be, or a full review by our engineer, by our solicitors, of their operations and of their plans, and we go into a lot of depth. But just for now, board members, I'm sure, have some questions about how this is going to work, or what the process is, or exactly, what kind of companies are being served here. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Galloway?
Really, I read some background on it prior to the meeting, and I think it's a fascinating concept, and I appreciate you coming here tonight to discuss it with us. It's going to reduce what's heading to the landfills, right?
Yes.
And you're going to reuse the water within your own operations?
Yeah, it's a beneficial reuse because all the water will be reusable quality water. Quality of the water will be distilled water, the quality. We can reuse it inside the facility, and we can also sell it to the neighbors in the KIPC zone, power plants and so on. We will also produce about 5,000 tons a year of salt, which can be used for the road de-icing after the salt is being delisted, because we have to get a permit to reuse it. So it has to go through a process of delisting by the DEP. Once we have it delisted, which means it can be used for anything, we can give it to the township, 5,000 tons a year of salt for, if the snow comes back.
Could have
next
used
year,
it, yeah.
Yeah.
I would thank you.
Mr. Boraski?
No, I'm good at this time, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Rocco?
So how long do you think you'll be here if you're successful?
Forever.
Okay, that's a good answer. That would be a good thing to have, right? Forever.
Yeah.
So you said the nearest competition is where for this, your competitor?
Deep oil injection in Texas.
In Texas, okay.
So they have to haul the waste about 2,000 miles all the way down to Texas, pay about a transport fee of about $300 a ton for transport, plus about $200 or $300 a ton for the deep oil injection.
Right.
So altogether about $500 to $600 a ton. We can do it for 1/5 of the price.
Wow, okay.
And still make money.
That's good. Can you talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah.
What you do with it, and then any of the waste product? It sounds like there's still going to be some solid waste. Is that true?
Yeah, there's some solid residues, about 150,000 tons a year of wastewater will produce about 5,000 tons of salt, which can be reused. About 95 of the amount is water that can be reused, and about 600 tons a year of solid waste, which is the waste after the process has taken place. What we have is a solid residue, which goes to a landfill, and we have solid waste of about 600 tons a year, versus about 10 times that much if you go through a standard processing of this type of waste, for example, by biological treatments or incinerators and deep oil injection. They also have a lot of solid residues. In our case, we reduce the solid residue by about more than 90%. So this is what we have. Water comes in, wastewater comes in, pure water comes out, a little bit of solid residues comes out, and a lot of salt, which can be reused.
Okay. Does that 600 ton of waste end up in a regular landfill?
Yes.
Okay. And then what is the process to get it?
Well, the process is a bit complicated, and I can explain it just a little bit.
The elevator speech, you ever hear that?
Yeah, I know. 2 minutes. What we do, basically, the wastewater contains organic residues. Wastewater is about more than 90% of the wastewater is water, and about 10%, up to 10% is the residues. Most of them are organics, coming from different types of industries, chemical, fine chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and so on. What we do, we extract the organic materials out of the wastewater using steam. Once it is in the gas phase, we oxidize it using thermal oxidation, which is a standard process for treatment of volatile organics in air. There are thousands of those in the United States. Every plant that has some kind of organic residues have to use thermal oxidizers. So thermal oxidizer, when you oxidize the organic vapors, what you get is heat of combustion. From the heat of combustion, we make more steam that goes back to the process of extraction. So all the energy that we need for the process comes from the wastewater itself. we don't have to add any energy. And sometimes if there's enough organic residues in the wastewater, we have excess energy which we can turn into steam, which can in turn turn turbines and make electricity, which we can put back on the grid.
Oh.
So this is basically in a nutshell what we do. A 2 minutes elevator speech.
Yeah, that was good. Actually, real good.
If you got that.
Well, yeah, I kind of got the gist. Can you talk a little bit about the facility and how big it is, and is it, the construction jobs that come out of it?
Yeah, first of all, we're going to use about 50 employees altogether in the plant, from all levels, from management all the way down to operators and maintenance and so on. And it will create about between 100 and 120 jobs in the construction phase, which will take about a year.
Okay.
And direct jobs of 50, and indirect jobs probably 3 times as much. So basically, I think we are talking about almost 150 people will get the benefit of jobs created by this facility. And if it is successful, we want to double the facility, because the market is big enough to sustain more than two plants. Instead of building another plant nearby, we just want to expand the same facility at the same location, because this is a very good location for us. The size of the plot, the area is large enough, and we can double the plant and then make create a better facility with that much jobs and so on.
So you're planning on using all of the transportation available to you, the barge, the
railway, and
tanker trucks, I guess.
Yes, it's a very good facility. The benefit is very nice, because you can move the waste, all these 3 possibilities, and it's very cost effective to do it.
Right. What's the environmental danger or downfall to this?
Well, if you don't operate properly, anything can happen.
Okay.
Same as you don't drive your car properly, anything can happen.
Okay. You've been asked that question before, right?
Yes.
So just the time frame, it looks like it was a 9 to 10 month DEP.
And then another 10 months to build the plant.
And another 10 months to build the plant.
In 12 months it will be full operational.
And winter, don't forget winter.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And since we have a lot of heat, we will be using the heat to heat the buildings, and basically we can sell the heat to the city.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay.
You mentioned thermal oxidation, and it made me think about, is there any kind of air emissions from this facility?
Air emission, of course, yeah. Okay. But the air emissions are going to be according to the DEP regulations. And since we are considered a minor facility, and as far as air emission is involved, we were asked to have at least 99.8 reduction of the air pollution that might come out. We will be actually operating at 99.999 reduction capacity of the plant. So that means 2 or 3 orders of magnitude better than the regulations imposed by the DEP.
Mm-hmm. And it's 150,000 ton facility, and it's basically, is it a carbon copy of what you have in Israel right now?
Yes, exactly the same.
Same footprint.
And we are going to do the same other locations in the US and the same in Europe. This is the same facility exactly. Copy paste.
And how long has that been in operation?
10 years.
10 years.
And without a glitch.
Not good.
More than 1 million tons of wet water.
Right. Okay. No, I again appreciate you coming, and I think it's just kind of fascinating. It's a self-sustaining process, basically.
Yes.
Essentially, kind of feeds itself.
Yes.
All right, any other questions? Again, this is just a simple sketch plan, just giving the board of supervisors a chance to get a sneak peek at this project. Any other questions or comments from board members? No?
No.
Okay. All right, we're not voting on it, obviously, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Look forward, hopefully, to seeing you in the future.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you.
Supervisors and Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, we'll move to what was item 4. Consider code of conduct rules for the 2014 Falls Township Summer Camp Program. Okay, Mr. Gray? Or actually, are you gonna throw this, Ms. Gallagher? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. As the board is aware, the township runs a...
We're having a, as everyone's exiting here, we'll have a...
The mayor's,
Yeah. It's the welcoming committee is... Nice to be greeted by William Penn when you come into the room here. All right, Ms. Gallagher, go ahead. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. As the board is aware, the township for many years has run a summer camp through the Park and Recreation Department. We became aware last year that there was nothing in place as far as a code of conduct for the campers and the campers' parents to be aware of, as far as the township's expectations of the behavior of the campers that come into the camp. Camp is not public school. It is a privilege, not a right. So we have put together a list of behaviors that the township insists that all campers comply with. Things like we will have a zero tolerance for bullying, for can't destroy property, abusive and foul language, things that will not be tolerated. It also provides some guidelines as to whether or not there will be penalties, and for different levels of conduct, there's different penalties that can be assessed against an individual camper, up to and including expulsion from camp. So we're asking the board to consider implementing this code of conduct for the 2014 camp season.
Okay. Comments or questions for Ms. Gallagher or Mr. Gray? Mr. Galloway?
No, I just noticed that you made a distinction between what we call minor and major transgressions.
Correct.
So for the major ones, it's immediate, and for the minor ones, it's dealing with things in a very reasonable manner. And I think it's very thorough, and I think what you did for the bullying it's very appropriate. You included electronic.
That's correct.
As well as other forms. So I appreciate your efforts, and I think it's really, it's going to be really very appropriate that we'll have it in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Borowski?
No, I'm good. I think it looks great.
Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, I echo Mr. Galloway's comments about the zero tolerance for bullying. I thought it was interesting that we threw in there electronic, which basically means that it doesn't just need to happen at the camp. If
That's
it happens on Facebook or Instagram or
text messaging,
I'm trying to think what the kids are using. I'm following Snapchat. Thank you. That was what I was thinking of, Snapchat. But that's good. I like that in there. So thank you. Great job.
Thanks.
No, I agree. It is something that's needed, and you're getting a couple hundred kids together of all different ages, and I think Ms. Gallagher said it very well. The camp is a privilege. It's not a right. And obviously we operate the camp, and it's something we enjoy doing, and I know the kids enjoy it, and the parents obviously have a place for the kids to go where they're around other kids their age, and there's some guidance, and there's different kinds of instruction and activities, and they're not sitting in front of the Xbox for 8 hours a day. But they're doing something more creative and energetic, but we do need to have some rules, and it's good to have them put in place like this. So I believe there's any public comments, since there's not really much of the public left. Is there a motion then to adopt the code of conduct for the township summer camp program?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All right. All right, next on the agenda, keeping with the summer camp, quotes for the 2014 summer camp program for busing. Mr. Gray?
Jenna Russo from the Park and Rec Department has secured quotes for summer camp buses. There's a total of 6 companies that were requested quotes. First one was from First Student. They quoted $185 per bus for up to 3 hours and $55 for every hour after that, provided with a 100-mile round trip. Trips that exceed 100 miles will have a flat rate of $60 per hour per bus for a 4-hour minimum. The other company that provided a quote was the Bus Bank, $350 to $575 per bus for a half day, 4 to 6 hours, and $500 to $800 per bus for a full day, 6 to 12 hours. There are 4 other companies: Hagee Motor Coach, U.S. Coachways, Yellowbird Bus Company, and Student Transportation of America that we tried to secure quotes but were unsuccessful. Some of the Potential trips that the camp goes to each year includes the Brunswick Lanes, the Philadelphia Zoo, Great Adventure, Movies, Bounce Hue, and Sahara Sam. Park and Rec Department is recommending that we use First Student Bus Transportation. Each year they provide us with outstanding service. The board is asked to consider this at this time.
Okay, thank you. And because this is under the $18,000 bid threshold, this is just securing quotes. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray?
I just know that we use First Student every year for the parade, and they do a great job. And they're a big company, and it looks good. Thank you.
This is who we used last year? I wasn't
Yes,
sure
it
where
is.
that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think last year we were talking about asking Pennsbury to participate, right?
We did ask Pennsbury last year. Unfortunately, they were unable to provide us with the service.
And just another comment is, I noticed 1, 2, 3, 4 declined to provide quotes because we didn't have specific dates or locations.
Yeah, they do ask for it. Unfortunately, we don't know at this time where the final trips are going to
So
be.
my question would be, maybe not this year, but next year, either we wait a little bit and have that so we have more options, or at least we know that we did our homework on it. So that's all I had.
All right. Okay, I don't have any comments or questions. It's pretty straightforward. And let's see, is there a motion then to award or to go with the quote from First Student for bus service for the summer camp?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda, consider a proposal from Rainbow Promotions for rides and games for the Falls Township Family Festival. Mr. Gray.
Township received a quote for rides and games for the Family Festival from Rainbow Promotions in the amount of $9,800. The Family Festival will be held Saturday, June 7th, 2014. The Township has used Rainbow Promotions in the past for various other events. Rainbow Promotions will provide 10 rides and 10 games from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. on that date. The board is asked to consider Rainbow Promotions for the rides and games at the Family Festival in the amount of $9,800.
Okay, comments or questions for Mr. Gray?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski? No?
Did we only obtain one quote?
Yes, we did go to another company. I'm sorry, there was a second company. The price was very similar, but knowing that we've used this company in the past and we are familiar with the services they provide and the quality, we thought it would be better to go with this particular company.
Okay. I guess if we could, like we do everything else, if we could list it and then make the recommendation, just so we know that we, again, did our homework and asked more than one. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so this would be Saturday, June 7th, which is also the night we do fireworks, and this is like last year. This is being held in conjunction with the Queue for the Troops, which will be the Friday and Saturday. So the Queue for the Troops will be ending while this Family Festival is starting up. And so it's always a lot of people out for both events, and I think it's one of the sort of the highlights of the year for us here in Falls Township, and a lot of people get excited about it. So, and I'm again looking forward to summer. So another sign that that spring is coming somewhere.
Last year it was like 90 degrees at least. It was hot.
Sounds good.
Yeah. No complaints.
I'll take it now. All right, no more comments or questions. Is there a motion then to go with the quote for the rides and games for Rainbow Promotions, the amount of $9,800 for the Family Festival?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda, staying with the same theme, talked about the Family Festival. This is for fireworks. Consider a proposal for fireworks from D&M Fireworks LLC for the Family Festival. Mr. Gray.
Mr. Harvey, I can actually address that.
Okay.
In front of the board for tonight, consideration tonight is a contract with D&M Fireworks. It would be for a fireworks display on Saturday, June 7th, 2014, with a rain date of Saturday, June 20th, 2014. The contract will provide the total payment in the amount of $9,000, $4,500 to be paid up front, and $4,500 at the time of the event. We've worked with the company to finalize the terms of the agreement, so the final contract is in front of the board this evening.
Okay. And this is a different company than we've used in the past, right, Mr. Gray?
Yes, it is.
Why are we switching?
We felt it'd be better to go with a different company this year, and I think there were some other issues as well.
Came from the recommendation of the fire marshal.
Yes.
Okay, so the fire marshal's recommendation was to go with a different company.
Yes.
We've gone with these people. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
Nope.
Mr. Den, sorry. Mr. Rocco?
None.
Okay. All right, so I have no comments or questions. Is there a motion then to approve the contract with D&M Fireworks LLC in the amount of $9,000 for fireworks on June 7th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, next is consider tenant leases for Vaughn Insurance Managers, Dynametrics, and T&M Associates. Mr. Gray?
Yes, lease agreements for 3 of the township's tenants, Vaughn Insurance Managers, Dynametrics, and T&M Associates, have been secured. These lease agreements are one-year agreements commencing January 1st, 2014 and ending December 31st, 2014. At this time, the board is requested to consider approval of these 3 lease agreements with Vaughn Insurance, Dynametrics, and T&M Associates.
Okay. Comments or questions? Actually, I have a question. Mr. Clark, can we approve all 3 of these at once? Do we have to do them independently?
Same rate?
No, so.
Okay. They're going to need to be approved separately with the, because they're not all the same rate.
Okay.
So I would ask you to do them all separately.
All right, we don't have, do we have a square footage rate on these?
The rates for,
I think we have the total, right?
yeah, Dynametrics and Vaughn Insurance are both at $16.18. T&M Associates is $16.67.
Same as last year? Or?
Yes, it is. Square foot.
Per square foot, okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray? Mr. Galloway?
None.
Mr. Boraski?
The only other thing I had was everybody's lease space the same?
No, they all vary.
No, I mean, have they increased from last year, or
No,
they're
no,
renting
no.
the same space?
Yes, same space. Yep.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. All right, so then we can do, if I understand Mr. Clark, we can do the Vaughn and Dynametric ones simultaneously because they have the same rate?
At a rate of $16.18 a square foot.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the lease agreements with Vaughn Insurance Managers and Dynametrics in the amount of $16.18 per foot?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion to approve the lease agreement with T&M and Associates for $16.67 per square foot. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, engineers report. Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Due to weather conditions, there's not a whole lot going on right now. The 2013 road program contractor remains on hiatus, probably until the second week in March or so. However, the gas contractor is still working to move gas lines on Makefield Road. So as soon as that's done, we can open up the project for the contractor to return as soon as he can and the weather permits. Mercer Court, the townhouse development going on next door to the Township building, is actually moving along better than expected. Utility work has been going on as weather permits, and they've been doing a pretty good job of trying to keep the project moving along, even with the bad weather. The learning experience is very close to having a CO, a permanent certificate of occupancy. Right now, I think they have a temporary. They've been loading some of the equipment and furniture into the building. But they should be in a position fairly soon to have an actual permanent certificate of occupancy and then begin business operations. At the Fairless Hills Mall, the Dollar Tree store plans to open on Thursday. So they also have a temporary certificate of occupancy, stocking shelves. A lot of employees are in there doing that kind of work. But they hope to open actually this Thursday. And that's about all I have for this time.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
Mr. Rocco?
No questions.
No, I don't have any either. Is there a motion to approve the engineering report, which is dated February 14th, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, bill list. Bills this month, the amount of $1,557,208.41. Of that 1.5 million, about 1.1 million is salary and health insurance, and $50,000, surprise, surprise, in salt. And that's not because Mr. Gray likes French fries, although he does. That's $50,000 of road salt, and that's 1 month. And that's actually up to this point. I don't know, what the latest bill that will be included in this is, but obviously, of course, we haven't been able to buy any salt recently because there isn't any anywhere on the east coast of the United States. So there are a couple of ships coming from Chile. I think Mr. Arneo told me that everybody's waiting for. So,
So what did we budget for salt? Are we well over the budget?
I don't have that number offhand, but I'm sure we are.
I was trying to think, but you can
Yeah,
see.
I know. I can see the. I can see you
You can
think.
see the gears turning. He's trying to think. I can do this. I can think of this. If we asked him somebody's birthday, he could come up with that pretty easily. Or the team batting average for the 1973 Phillies. He probably knows that. Mr. Gray is a strange capacity for numbers. It's kind of amazing. But I'm sure we're over whatever we budgeted and I think everybody is. No one anticipated this kind of stuff. Comments or questions regarding the bill list for Mr. Gray, other than the one we had? Mr. Galloway?
None.
Mr. Boraski?
No thanks.
Mr. Dents?
Nothing.
Mr. Rocco? I'm so used to saying it. He's not even here. All right. So is there a motion then to pay the bills, $1,557,208.41?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pohl?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay. With the manager comment, Mr. Gray, I think you have quite a few things for us.
Yes, several items tonight. On January 21st, 2014, a hearing was conducted in front of the Township Manager pursuant to Section 206-12 of the Falls Township Code of Ordinances regarding allegations that John's Auto Body violated portions of the Township's record ordinance, specifically Section 206-7F, which requires an on-call record to abide by the fee schedule in place at the time of the tow, and Section 206-8C, which requires an on-call record to arrive within 15 minutes of a call for assistance. Based on the evidence produced at the hearing, it would appear that there were violations of the Township's code at Chapter 206. Specifically, Johns was clearly tardy in appearing at the scene, though this is a relatively minor violation of the code. More significantly, there are admitted violations of the fee schedule. While there is some gray area as to whether or not the additional winching fee should be permitted, there is a clear overcharge in the amount of $175. The winching fee itself may be considered excessive given the fact the entire process took about 15 minutes. The manager's recommendation at this time is a written warning and a repayment of a $175 overcharge. The board is asked to consider this recommendation at this time.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray or Ms. Gallagher?
The repayment is, that's to the owner of the car.
It would actually be to the insurance company that paid the bill.
Oh, the insurance.
Yes.
Got it.
Any other comments or questions? No. Okay. Is there a motion then to authorize the decision of the manager regarding John's Auto Body?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is Ray Litwin's Heating and Air Conditioning. The township received a proposal for an annual maintenance contract for 2014. The total amount for the year is $4,950. There are several tasks that they include each year, including a spring and fall checkup of all the units, including the filters. Again, the total amount is $4,950. Board is asked to consider this proposal from Ray Litwin's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray?
Just doing, I did speak with Mr. Litwin in regard to the contract for services that he provides. He was more than helpful. We talked on the phone for about 30 minutes. The following day, he actually had a packet, and he put a packet together with, everything he does he had every unit labeled, every filter. I mean, they have records of everything they did, so I'm definitely in favor of Mr. Litwin at this point.
Okay. Comments or questions?
No, I know we held off. Mr. Brasky wanted to do a little background check on him, so sounds like he's satisfied.
Okay. All right, is there a motion then to approve the maintenance contract for Ray Litwin for heating and air conditioning for the Township building in the amount of $4,950 for the 2014 year?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Bransky?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
The township received an application for the annual spring 2014 bare root tree offer. Bare root trees would be available in April for planting shortly thereafter. Township has done similar bare root tree programs in prior years, planting them throughout the township. Over 270 trees have been purchased through the Tree Vitalized program by Falls Township. This application was also reviewed by the Shade Tree Committee. Shade Tree is requesting 40 trees at a cost of $25 each for a total cost of $1,000. The board is asked to consider the purchase of 40 trees as part of the Tree Vitalized program for $1,000.
Okay, comments or questions for Mr. Gray?
None.
Mr. Bresky? No?
Did we just buy trees in the fall as well?
Yes, we did.
Okay, yeah, because I was always under the impression you're supposed to plant in the fall.
Yeah, we do a planting in the fall and in the spring of each year.
Okay.
And then we put those gator bags.
Gator bags, yeah.
In the spring.
That's all right.
How do we decide where the trees go, Mr. Gray?
The Shade Tree Committee does come up with recommendations for where these trees should go. They were putting together a listing of where they recommend, so I can present that to you shortly.
Okay. I'm just curious. Thanks. Okay.
Just township property, though, correct?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion then to approve of the application for the bare root tree offer spring 2014, 40 trees at a $25 each cost for a total cost of $1,000?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Bransky?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Township received an email request from Ralph Funk, president of Levittown American, for a donation in the amount of $6,000. This funding was included in the 2014 budget. This is similar to the donations the township has done for Levittown Continental and Fairless Hills Athletic Association. The board is asked to consider this donation at this time.
Okay. Comments or questions
No.
on the donation?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the donation to Levittown American, $6,000?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Bransky?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Township recently received a request from the Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee for a donation for the parade. In the 2014 budget, this $6,000 was included for this event. The board is asked to consider a $6,000 donation to the Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee.
Okay. Comments or questions?
Just, Mr. Chairman, I feel I'll have to abstain because I volunteer as director of the parade.
Okay. Other comments or questions?
No.
No? I have a question, actually. I don't see anywhere in here. This is kind of important. When is it?
It's March 15th.
All right, okay. I can put
That's
it in
a
the calendar.
Saturday, right?
Yes, it is.
That's right.
Yeah, see, now I know why why they pay you to be the director.
Ah, there you go. You don't pay me to be director.
Last guy into the room, is that what it was? Or, yeah. No, it's a tremendous event. It's a wonderful parade, and we're honored to have it here in Falls Township. I think it's fantastic. So, no more comments or questions. Is there a motion then to approve the donation $6,000 to the Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Abstain.
Mr. Bransky?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
The township had a state of emergency beginning 6 p.m. Wednesday, February 12th through 9 a.m. Saturday, February 15th due to the recent storm. Per the township ordinance, the manager may declare a local emergency subject to ratification by the Board of Supervisors within 7 calendar days thereafter. At this time, the board is asked to approve this action imposed by the township manager.
Okay. We had two of these. Why don't we might just do them both at the same time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, there was a second state of emergency beginning midnight, Wednesday, February 5th at 9 a.m. I'm sorry, beginning midnight, Wednesday, February 5th through 9 a.m. Monday, February 10th, due to the storm on Wednesday, February 5th. The board is asked to consider approving this action imposed by the township manager as well.
Okay. Comments or questions?
So how many we had this year? 4 or 3?
Total?
Yeah.
I think there were 4.
4. No, that was all I had.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
Yeah, it's very crazy.
I thought the one clause about within 7 days, I thought we'd taken that out just because of how it.
I just made a note to double check that.
I think we did take that up.
Yeah.
I think it's now the next regularly scheduled meeting.
I think that's correct.
Yeah. So.
I think that's how it works now.
Yeah. I thought we did change it just
Yeah.
because we run into situations like the one on the 5th was a meeting night, or I guess we canceled, right, or something. Yeah.
Canceled, yeah.
Yeah, we canceled. And it ended up, of course, because I guess it was ice or something, and obviously we didn't meet. So, all right. The only questions I had. Is there a motion then to approve of the 2 state of emergencies stated by the manager?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right, board comment. We'll start with the other end of the aisle here, other end of the dais. Mr. Rocco.
No comments.
Okay. Mr. Boraski?
I just had 2 things, yeah. I guess the first is just, with the township, the plowing, there was a lot of snow dumped on even your neighbor's property, your property, and it was nice to actually see, neighbors being out. You get plowed in, you get the bottom of your driveway, and you get, your neighbors out there, they're helping everybody out. So, that was kind of just, one thing I wanted to mention. I see it on my street, and I'm sure it's the same. I'm sure it's the same everywhere else. And the only other note I have here is, it's kind of nice to see driving through the neighborhood, B&B Automotive down here, the Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree, the school's, I think, just getting ready to open, or looks like construction's just about done. So it's just nice to see that turn around in the township. That's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Mr. Galloway?
Well, just as you prompted me to remember earlier, the parade, Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade will step off at 10 a.m. Saturday, March the 15th. Our usual locations from St. Joe's up to the tech school, and I'm sure at our next meeting I'll have a lot more details, and I'll present it with a lot more enthusiasm. I promise.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. All right, just a couple of things for me. I mentioned earlier when Mr. Arneo from our Public Works Department was here, just thanking them. It's easy, I guess. You think about these guys going out in the middle of the night and driving around in a snowplow. We have 82 miles of road in Falls Township we have to clear. So it's another reason why sometimes they might only do one path down the middle of the road, because sometimes trying to get 82 miles, especially depending on how heavy the snow is coming down, cars in the way, etc. It's easy to think, well, those guys, that's what they get paid for. They're getting overtime. They probably love it, and to be honest, they'd rather not have to be out there at 2, 3, 4, or 5 o'clock in the morning, driving a plow for hour upon hour upon hour upon hour. But they do a great job, and they really, it's in many ways a thankless job. We know the plow comes by, and people usually complain if the plow doesn't come through fast enough, but it's everybody wants to see them, and so we kind of keep them in mind and thank them for everything they've done. I'm sure they hope that this has been the last of the snow, knock wood. In terms of the towing, I think it was a necessary thing. I think probably the fault of the township. I'll blame myself here a little bit, and I guess the blame goes back further than me even, is that we haven't always enforced, keeping cars off the road. And so obviously it does make sense that people would be sort of surprised when it happens. I do think the police did everything they could to try, and the township overall, to try and get people to move their vehicles. A lot of it does fall on the residents. It is, you're part of a community. And just like we ask for volunteers for different things, and we look for people to help us out, in the township, living in a community means being conscious of your neighbors around you, and moving cars out of the street when you know it's going to be snowy. It doesn't matter necessarily. Someone said to me the other night, they had a neighbor who complained that, well, I've lived here 20 years, they never did this before, and the answer that this gentleman who spoke to me gave was, well, it doesn't really matter. It's an ordinance is an ordinance. It's a law. It doesn't matter if it's enforced or not enforced. It's still a law. You still should know to get it out of the street. And I think there's some truth to that, but I can understand a little bit of the confusion and shock as well. I do want to make sure that we've contacted, and we will contact the towing companies. I want to make sure that anybody who's had their car towed who has not been notified up until this point, that they're not getting charged any kind of a fee for having the car stored at a lot when they didn't even know where it was. We'll have to work a little bit. I know the police, Lieutenant Pletnick is working on this, and Lieutenant Ward's been in the middle of the storm as well, and I appreciate all his efforts. But we want to make sure certainly that people aren't getting overcharged for something, especially if they didn't know where their car was to begin with. And just also to make mention, talk about some openings. We do have a few openings. We have a few people who have submitted some letters of interest for some of our boards. And I know some of the board members have contacted some people and not others, and just sort of getting around to getting to everybody. So we have gotten these letters. We know that you have submitted, and we apologize for not getting to you more quickly. But we'll try and make an effort, and I'm guilty of this too. I haven't had a chance to reach out to everybody yet. We do also have an opening. I don't know, it came sort of toward the end of last year, so it might have gotten lost a little bit in the shuffle, for TOFA. There is an opening, one member whose term expired, and she has other commitments, and so she's not going to be able to fulfill that commitment. So I don't know if that should be on the township website and channel. If it isn't, we'll make sure it is. So you can put an application in for that as well. And aside from that, I want to thank all the members of the township for all their patience, and all the people of the township. As Mr. Boraski said, it's neat to see everybody coming together, on things like this, power outages and snowstorms. And let's hopefully the camaraderie and everyone being together continues even when the weather's nice. And we can doesn't have to be just storms when we get together like this. But I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.